Hi, I'm Dr. Brandy Victory, and I'm really excited to share with you this wonderful woman, Bonnie Brindle, the Anxiety Avenger. She's a therapist, a transformational coach, a speaker, and an author, and we are going to share some really fun things with you today. Bonnie, welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me, Brandy. I can't wait to hang out with you for a bit here and say hi to your friends.
Yeah, awesome. We really appreciate it. I'm grateful that you're here. You're our second practitioner to be highlighted in the Community Wellness Network. So, yeah, so I'm so grateful. This is like taking off, and it's just so fun to be able to share wonderful practitioners with our community and to let people know about the wonderful work you and all the practitioners in our community are doing.
Well,
Because
that's
I feel like
incredibly generous of you. I appreciate that.
Oh, yeah, totally. I mean, we have so many amazing practitioners in our environment, in our local community. And like I was telling you before, I wouldn't know about them if I didn't get a referral. So we need to spread this out because the more healing we can get out into the world, the more light we bring in, the more we can evolve as a species and hopefully save our planet. So thanks for the work you're doing. So can you tell us a little bit about why you call yourself the Anxiety Avenger?
Sure. And again, thanks for all of this because I've been part of the community wellness network for a while and met some fabulous practitioners. And none of us need to be the best kept secret, right? We need to
Right.
get it out there. And it's hard to. It's hard to get it out there in the noise that goes on around us. And speaking of noise, yeah, the anxiety Avenger piece. I decided as I was coming to the end of my work with public education, I retired from teaching secondary school and coaching staff after 25 years in Boulder Valley and St. Vrain and Westminster. I decided as I was approaching that retirement, I was going to write a brief, easy, accessible memoir about my journey with anxiety. I once suffered, as a young adult, once suffered from debilitating panic disorder and agoraphobia. And agoraphobia literally makes people stuck in their homes or whatever that safe place is. And my anxiety was at that level in my 20s, and I spent all this rest of this time up to now figuring out, creating my way out of that place. And I realized that I had a lot that I could share with others. So I wrote my book, Cracking the Crazy Maker's Code, as a easily accessible memoir, but a powerful tool as well because it has a guided journal in it for folks wanting to look at their own path out of anxiety and letting go of overwhelming stress.
Wow, that's really important work. So much anxiety, especially now.
Right, we could have said for so many people are struggling with anxiety and stress in their home relationships and their with their kids, with their spouses, with their workplaces, that all of the things, right? Environment. And it doesn't seem to be coming down for people, for us in general. All it does is do this, right? And the number of people who are depending on alcohol and drugs, legal and illegal, and who are struggling in their relationships and just trying to find a grounded balance where they can function around others and within themselves, it's getting harder every day. That's no joke.
I agree. I agree. I see it a lot in my practice as well. So I'm curious, what kind of things do you do with your clients? What does a client journey look like with you?
Oh, well, I work with individual clients to a degree. I work in coaching in group settings. I work with business people and on improving their human resource experience at work, which is really, really important. Um, and how that looks, kind of, let's say, I have a teenage client right now. I have a teenage client who has some spectrum characteristics, and helping that person find grounding and stop some negative self-talk and negative self-image that this kid's going through right now. I meet with that person individually, and we connect on what's it like to be a teenager right now. Like, how
Mm,
can we keep that calmness, keep that balance, and not be drawn in a bunch of directions that are difficult, and debilitating and dangerous sometimes, like with the online world that kids are in right now, and all the things that they are concerned about. Also, I have worked with, oh gosh, it just a memory just popped up to my head that I enjoyed. Um, worked with a local battered women's shelter folks in the equine space with a partner of mine at that time who had the equines, the horses to utilize for equine therapy and around. Um, helping each other to come through some of the challenges that were new to every single person, right? Because none of them had been in the equine world and working with horses, and that was a lot of fun. And at the moment, I do have a client similar to my history who is struggling with agoraphobia, and is working on coping mechanisms to start spreading the level of experience that I'll say they to protect gender that they have right now to get out of the house, to be functioning outdoors and go to places that they want to go with a lot less stress and fear. So I work with people at that level, and then also people just like, I'm just not feeling great. I'm arguing a lot with my spouse, friend, children. I'm going to work and I'm struggling with a coworker that keeps telling me their issues every day, and I don't know how to create those boundaries. And so all sorts of levels of trying to help people just keep peace of mind, their own focus and grounding so that they would connect with others, then those relationships are smooth and things don't become misunderstood.
Wow, that's awesome. And if I don't know all of your story at all, but I think you have multiple different techniques and modalities and tools in your belt. What are some of those that?
Yeah, I do. And yeah, we in the space we have here, we won't go back into like the family dynamics and the sensitivities and all the things that lead sometimes to somebody having a level of anxiety like I have had. But
Ooh, wait, that's a good one though. Okay, so that's something we can talk about through the week.
okay.
Yeah. Okay. I like that. That's a really good one. I mean, I would love to hear more about that, but I know we want to keep this like concise. So, yeah,
Yeah.
thanks for putting that in my face.
But yeah, it's a story that I know a lot of other people would say, "Oh yeah, I get that. Oh yeah, I've been there. I'm struggling with that." And we're all keeping it in like this, just
Mm,
trying to stay managing, and it keeps popping up. Pop, 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 but that's what anxiety is, right? It's just blocked energy
mm,
that can be safely released. But we're playing whack-a-mole every day to keep it under control. And that is how relationships and our inner peace get disturbed really quickly.
mm,
But
mm,
some of the modalities I've used, like in the past, when I first started working with human therapists as a young adult, for a short time, I did take an antidepressant. That is something I knew I would not do forever. I knew
mm,
that I was not going to just take a drug to cover the symptom. It would help me a lot, help me calm down enough to do more processing through that work. But I knew that I would let go of it eventually, and I did. And everything else these days that I use is natural. EFT tapping at a therapeutic level, and also the symptomatic level. You'd see maybe on YouTube some people doing videos that are very helpful and effective. And there are deeper levels to go with that. Um, Also, Jin Shin Jitsu, which is
mm,
Japanese modality, a Japanese meridian practice as well, an energy flow modality that has helped me a lot as a client. And so I share what I'm working on, the practices that I use with my clients as well. I am not a practitioner of Jin Shin, but I'm a recipient of that. So I share,
Oh, gotcha.
right, what works for me. Back in 2005, I developed wildlife imagery as a therapeutic modality.
Ooh,
One of the things we really suffer with, Brandy, is a disconnection from nature,
yeah.
right? And there are evidence-based articles, doctors that say 20 minutes in nature every day is a need and a really helpful thing for people because being on a computer, being on the phone, driving the car, watching television, humans were not designed to do any of that,
Yeah.
right? Our source is nature. So um, when I can't be out in nature and I need some calming and serene help from that, I will go into my own mind, into my wildlife imagery, into the guides that I have recognized work for me, and ask them for help and protection and grace and transformation. And I can help people develop that for themselves too. I don't tell people what they should focus on, but I can help them develop their own. I have six um, guardian animals that travel with me all the time. And when I need to help myself settle down, and I don't need to tell anybody around me what's going on inside of me, I just check in and
Awesome.
hey, right? I'm not alone. And that's a big thing with people that are struggling with anxiety is the feeling of isolation.
Yeah.
So I'm never,
Even though they may have plenty of people around them, there's still this sense of,
yes, plenty of people around, but not be able to talk to them about what's going on.
yeah.
Right? That's one of the hardest things for anxious people is to be able to speak about what is going on for us. I
May
mean,
I ask
my
you how
therapist.
old you were when you were on the medication?
Can you say that again?
How old were you when you were on medication?
Let's see. That was after I moved here. I was surprised that I needed that at the time. So probably 35 for a year.
Oh, you know, it's really great that you had the awareness that you weren't going to be on it forever, right? Like I see patients and they're like, well, I've been on this for X number of years or however long, right? And there's this not sure they're unsure if they can actually come off of it and things like that. And I when I was young, I was diagnosed with bipolar manic depression. I was suicidal, like I have a whole story around that, and I was on many medications for a long time. But the doctors told me I could never get off of it. I haven't been on medication in 25 years, so that's a different story, but I'm just saying that because we get told that we can't get off these meds and but what I know and what you know is that the source of the problem is not a lack of medication. However, I also want to be clear, anyone who's on medication, don't just stop because you know that's not the source of your problem, right? So if you break your leg, I always recommend using crutches, right? So yeah, and work with somebody who can help you manage whatever that source is, the underlying root cause. And it sounds like because you've had all this personal experience that it's something close to your heart and you have a lot of care and compassion for people who are going through this.
It really is very close to my heart, and I do have that compassion that you're speaking of. And I saw this in middle school kids that I work with, developing anxieties at that age. And of course, working with adults now as well. So many people are suffering from it and don't really know where to turn or how to go forward from where they are. But and I don't want to insult anyone who's using medication. Medication is a bridge, and it
Yeah.
was a bridge that I needed and used when it became really difficult for me to be calm riding horses, which I had done my entire life, and that was a deal breaker. I was giving that up. Right? Oh no. So the medication helped me to just take everything down a notch, get back into a different, a new therapeutic relationship. Because I'm, coaching and therapy and all the things. There's so many different ways of approaching it that are really, really helpful. So keeping an open mind to trying something that you haven't tried before, and just making sure that if that involves another human being, that people feel comfortable with that person. When you go to work with a therapist or a coach, it's got to be somebody you immediately feel comfortable with. And it's hard when you're feeling a need to get some help to think of that as shopping, but it is. You need to
Yeah,
that right fit. And if it doesn't feel okay, walk away and try again because we are not all for each other.
that's right.
Not
That's
everything is going to work for everybody. But I feel that using EFT and tapping, I've used EMDR, Jin Shin Jitsu, wildlife imagery, lots of strategies to increase vagal tone, which I know is just not going to get deep into the science of polyvagal theory, but when we can tone our ventral vagus nerve, then it helps us to be calmer, to slow down, to breathe. And there are techniques developed by a gentleman whose last name was Porges, who came up with polyvagal theory. There are a lot of techniques like the box breathing that you and I talked about before, when we, breathing in through the nose, holding the breath out, and then holding it again. That hold moment increases the CO2 in our blood, which slows our heart rate. It's like
yeah.
right in there. Yeah. So there are lots of simple techniques that we can do to help ourselves naturally. And that's what I'm all about now. All of those things that I mentioned, I use them all the time in different ways. Natural techniques to keep myself from getting ramped back up into a level of anxiety that's difficult to manage.
Yeah, and I think I appreciate you sharing that because it's important, I think, for people to realize like in this world today, this is just my personal opinion, but in this world today, there's so much stress. There's so much trauma. There's so much toxicity that impacts our health and our neurotransmitters and our feel-good hormones. Like you can't get away from it. So there's not this, I think we would like to have, at least my perception, I think we would like to have be able to get the gold star and say, okay, I'm well now, right? But wellness isn't something you get the gold star and you've done it and then game over, like you've won the game. Like it's a process that we're in as long as we're in a human body and we're choosing and desiring something more or a more optimized state. So I appreciate you sharing that you just constantly use these tools because it's what keeps you balanced as much as possible through all the crazy, through all the trauma, through all the toxicity and whatever's happening in the world today. And God knows there's a lot. Like there's a lot.
Every second, every second, it's just right, like a cartoon character, and someone's just like la 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 la, slapping my face every day. Like, how much can you put up with? You know,
Yeah.
like I said, people reach for a drink, reach for drugs, sex, um, intense activities, anything to just make this stop, kind of
Yeah.
right. And it's really dangerous for
Yeah.
us to do some of the things that we do to try to stay away from it. And people get angry and frustrated, and then that comes out. People are fighting, and relationships get destroyed. I mean, it's a whole thing. And
Yeah.
we can make that better. And you said, how crazy this feels. I titled my book Cracking the Crazy Maker's Code for exactly that reason. Do you
Mm.
have a second for me to read a little paragraph and tell you what
Oh,
crazy
please do. Yeah.
you're just mentioning it? We're talking about crazy makers, and I kind of defined this simply in the book. So I said, this story is a memoir because it's the story of my discovery that crazy makers are behind our anxiety, depression, and relationship stress. Crazy makers can include the people who raised us or with whom we're connected in some way, unhealthy belief systems passed down through generations.
Mm.
So we're also looking at what came right down from the others behind us, or traumatic events we've experienced or witnessed.
Mhm.
They are the source of coding that gets into our DNA and programs us to think, believe, and act in ways that sabotage us.
Mm.
That's how I look at crazy makers. And what you're describing about all the things around us, that's what they are.
Beautiful. So share with us a little bit about your book. I mean, I know we just got an excerpt, but what will people find in your book and why should we want your book?
Yeah, so here's the cover. Oop, ring light. Cracking the Crazy Maker's Code, 9 simple steps to ease your anxiety. I
Yeah.
made this easy to fit in your computer bag, easily accessible, and the reading level is gentle. And so if folks choose to read the memoir, there may be connections that they make and feel more understood and less alone and isolated. And also, if they choose to, right in the very beginning, there's a QR code that you could print a guided journal that takes
Oh,
you on a path of like when I first went to my first human therapist, I couldn't define what my emotions were. I couldn't even tell you. I was just in a big you know, ball of stuck emotion. And it took working with a therapist to know what my emotions were, and then look underneath about, well, how did you build up to be in this place? What's the root of that rage? What's the root of that fear? What's the root of that frustration? Right. And so at the end of each chapter, they're short, as you can tell. Chapters are short, but
yeah.
at the end of each chapter, there's reflections for people to look at, like family origins and medications we may or may not have used, legal and otherwise, relationships that we're in as adults. There was in chapter 8, which is called Perseverance, has a lot to do with my relationship with horses and my specific relationship with my own horse. knowing what he had to persevere through to get to where I am. And I learn a lot from horses about how to keep myself grounded and paying attention, because that's what anxious people do, without letting it boil over into fear. Um, but you can print the journal out from the book and start working your own path through some of the things maybe that people hadn't considered before as a root of some of the frustrations that we deal with every day.
Love that. Thank you so much. What a great offering.
Thank you.
The
Thanks.
other thing we're going to put in the comments below, and we might have a post about it as well, is you have a freebie. Tell us a little bit about that.
Oh, yeah, great. So I put together in the freebie some top tips for dealing with anxiety and stress. And they are literally things I use every single day. I always make sure first thing before I get out of bed, I use one of my strategies. One of my Jinshin Jitsu ones is a favorite, to balance my energy before I get up in the morning. Hydration, always, always. Got the water wherever I go. Oh,
I have those same glasses.
awesome. I know you fill them with water too.
Uh-huh.
Staying away from some of that garbage and junk that companies are creating for us to drink and eat. I try to be good about staying with the whole foods and staying with the clear water. Um,
So important.
and movement every day. First thing in the morning. I woke up this morning. I had some things on my mind that were a little stressful. Get dressed, push myself out the door, just start walking. Some days I have a planned workout and I'll do that, but at least I get out the door and I go walk a couple miles before I do anything else. So
Beautiful.
this is several strategies in there, in that download that people can get a hold of, and then a little intro to me, a little intro to me as a speaker, and a bit about my online community called the Anxiety Avenger Alliance. Peace Now. That's free for 30 days for anyone to try it out. We meet on the second and fourth Wednesdays, Mountain Time, 5:30. And whatever your stuff is that you're wanting to release, that you're wanting to discover, that you want to work through, we do that together in an EFT group, that we call Borrowing Benefits. We work together to release. I had a member who had back pain a couple weeks ago, and after working through that, she was like, "Oh, my back feels so much better. I'm really surprised this worked." And someone else was worried about their adult kids who were all federal employees. That mom was really worried about her kids losing their jobs. That's a real thing, right?
It's a real thing.
So we were going through that and helping her to settle herself down, um, a little bit more. So that group is really, it's really enjoyable to be in, with people who are just looking for a way to take the energy down a little bit and create calmness. So all that stuff is in the freebie download for you.
I love that. And I love that you're doing it in a group. It seems like it could be like helpful for someone who's nervous about meeting one-on-one to have this community aspect, right? And
Right.
also you're gonna be hosting an event at the end of the month, and we'll talk more about that throughout the month, but you will get to experience maybe some of this fun stuff.
Yes, absolutely. I'm looking forward to the end of the month and we put that event together, Brandy, and that'll be so cool. And I can I personalize some books there and show you another one that I sell that I didn't write, but it means that much to me. The Power to Heal Myself by
Uh-huh.
Betty Wall is a very easy to use, um, a handbook for how to, um, little diagrams, little easy explanations, how to use Jinshin Jitsu on
Oh,
yourself. And
very.
yeah, I think enough of this book and I use it every day. So I'm like, I should also help people get that, and work on some of those natural strategies. We can do some examples and stuff and bring the energy down for everybody. So I'm looking forward to that event.
Yeah, me too. So, and I also look forward to the rest of our conversation this month because since you're highlighted, we'll be talking a lot, me and you. And also, whoever's listening to this, feel free to ask questions, pop in a little thank you or whatever touched your heart. We're just trying to create community with these conversations and uplift our own community, the public, and everyone here. So, I appreciate you, Bonnie, for the work you're doing. I appreciate our listeners for being a part of our community and sharing the word. So, um,
So
yeah.
so
Anything else?
and I hope that they do ask questions because I have. um, lots of strategies and ideas around this. I've been working on this for decades, so ask away.
Wonderful. Okay, that sounds wonderful. Thank you so much, Bonnie.
Thank you. We'll see you
Have a
soon.
great day.